There might have been some progress, but for now, it is not yet known. No, but we will somehow work on this because it is a return to normalcy.
Sergei Lavrov commented on the negotiations with the USA about resuming direct air connections. The foreign minister said that the Russian side proposed to their colleagues to remove Aeroflot from the sanctions. According to the minister, this step would indeed lead to the resumption of connections. Lavrov also stated that Trump's team understands the necessity of dialogue with Moscow. Prisoner exchanges help countries build trust. On RBC, the main news in the studio with Marina Lapteva. The U.S. President's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, has arrived in Russia. This was reported by Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov. Earlier, the portal Axios wrote that the American would meet with Vladimir Putin. Peskov said that the Kremlin would provide additional information about such meetings. If true, this would be the third personal conversation between the American diplomat and the Russian president. The previous ones were on February 11th and March 13th. The plane used by Trump's special envoy landed in St. Petersburg. It is known that Vladimir Putin will hold a meeting there today on the development of the naval fleet. Witkoff has already met with the Russian president's special representative, Kirill Dmitriev. Let me remind you, the American diplomat is part of the U.S. negotiation group for resolving the conflict in Ukraine. A ceasefire is the only item on the agenda for the U.S.-Russia talks on Ukraine. This statement was made by the official State Department representative, Tammy Bruce.
All our leaders, especially the president, all our leaders, particularly President Trump and Secretary of State Rubio, have publicly made it clear what is at stake when it comes to discussing this conflict. This is a situation that will not be resolved by military means. It's a meat grinder. Nothing else can be discussed until the shooting and killing stop.
Bruce said that the U.S. wants to avoid a prolonged resolution of the crisis in Ukraine. According to her, the settlement will not last longer than 6 months. Moscow states that it is ready for serious dialogue on the situation in Ukraine. At the same time, Russia emphasizes that the negotiation process should not be used to strengthen Kyiv's military capabilities. Today, another meeting of the Ramstein format is taking place at NATO headquarters in Brussels. The head of the Pentagon did not attend in person and will speak via video link. The United Kingdom and Germany have already stated that they will continue to provide military assistance to Ukraine. The court did not release GIS Major General Ivan Popov from the detention center, who is accused of fraud. It was previously reported that he would be sent on a special operation as the commander of one of the units. In this regard, the lawyer requested to suspend the proceedings in Popov's case. The prosecution, meanwhile, insisted on a 6-year sentence in a general regime colony. Popov is accused of large-scale fraud and official forgery. According to they will come into effect on April 12th. This is a response to Donald Trump's decision to increase tariffs on goods from China. Beijing called this a serious violation of international trade and economic rules and filed a new complaint with the World Trade Organization, as reported by the Ministry of Commerce of the Republic. At the same time, the U.S. claims that they do not want a conflict with China.
We do not see a conflict with Communist China. We are not seeking a conflict with Communist China. That would be a terrible outcome. President Trump has a great relationship with Xi Jinping. They often talk, there is mutual respect. And I think Trump wants to restore American manufacturing and not be taken advantage of. I respect that. I think Xi Jinping recognizes this dynamic. This is good for American power, interests, economy, and industrial base. So I don't think it should lead to conflict, and I sincerely hope it doesn't happen.
The U.S. trade war started a few days ago. Trump initially announced an increase in tariffs against almost all countries. Then the decision was postponed because many agreed to negotiate on trade barriers. This did not happen with China. Currently, U.S. tariffs on imports from China are 145%. Amid the trade war, the dollar fell to a 3-year low against the euro. China and the European Union must jointly resist the unilateral intimidation by the U.S. to protect their interests and international rules. There are no winners in tariff wars, stated Chinese President Xi Jinping during a meeting with Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez.
Building strategic and mutually beneficial cooperation between China and the West serves the common and long-term interests of both sides. The current global changes in the world are accelerating the evolution of numerous overlapping risks and challenges. Countries can only unite and cooperate.
Beijing views the European Union as an important political and economic force and is ready to develop relations to benefit both sides and the international community. European authorities plan to visit China in July, according to media reports, but the date of the meeting has not yet been agreed upon. The day before, the head of the U.S. Treasury Department stated that the EU's attempts to turn away from America towards Asia would, quote, cut off Europe's throat. Russia could take the place of the U.S. in supplies, like the ongoing coal shipments to China amid trade wars. This is the opinion of experts surveyed by RBC regarding other resources. There is information that U.S. oil supplies to China may decrease almost to zero. In this situation, they find themselves at the negotiating table. The BRICS countries, including Russia, will decide the fate of the oil and other otse markets.
In terms of form, China categorically does not accept the rude attitude towards itself, although that Donald Trump allowed. The form he chose, and that is precisely the whole point. All the Chinese are asking for is a mutually respectful conversation as equals, not for someone to come in like a boss and teach everyone else what they should do. If we talk about who is really at the table now, it is, of course, primarily China and Russia, as well as countries like those in BRICS, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and the Global South. This is precisely the point of what is happening.
The current configuration of tariffs between the U.S. and China will encourage the use of gray supply schemes through third countries, experts say. Often Chinese goods will be delivered in their original form. Importers will only change the label and certificate of origin. Southeast Asian countries are best suited for such schemes. At the same time, analysts emphasize that there will not be widespread use of such methods. It is more likely that the U.S. will tighten control over goods. A prototype of the driverless metro will appear in Moscow at the end of next year. This was announced by the Deputy Mayor for Transport and Industry, Maxim Liksutov.
This year, on the mayor's instructions, we are starting the first phase of launching the driverless metro. Software preparation is already underway. We are equipping it with special radars and lidars so that it can be operated in driverless mode. And accordingly, we are refining our information system to make all this be possible. The experiment here in the metro will continue this year and the next. And I am confident that by the end of next year, we will have a working prototype of a metro car capable of operating fully in driverless mode, taking into account the intervals of the Moscow metro.
According to Liksutov, there are metro lines in the world with driverless trains, but with the intervals familiar to Muscovites, 90 seconds and below. No metro system in the world operates in a driverless mode. He added that the main task when transitioning to the new technology is not to worsen the service that Muscovites are accustomed to. Crowds in Oman vehicles in Moscow's Lefortovo. Today, a farewell ceremony is being held there for musician Pavel Iblev, better known as Pasha Technik. Eyewitnesses report arrests. Judging by the footage, most of those gathered are teenagers. The church staff had to close the gates, but the musicians' fans started climbing over the fence. The street next to the farewell location is blocked by